Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here with us. This meeting has been made possible thanks to the international desk of ANIMA Confindustria Meccanica Varia, which has the purpose to support associated companies penetrating foreign markets. My name is Stefano Boldorini, and I'm the founder and managing partner of Winh, Holding Your Hands, cross-border business development company working in the Indian market and in various other ones. Winh is cooperating with companies, associations, institutions to support the business overseeing of these markets through deputy country management operations. Winh is partnering with ANIMA's desk for cross-border activities. At the end of every session or at the end of the overall panel, dear guests, you can place your questions by going on the right-hand side control panel, where Domande bar is there, and I will give you, and I will speak on your behalf to the speakers. Now, let me introduce the first speaker of the day, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Italy in India, Mr. Vincenzo De Luca. Thank you for being here with us, Mr. De Luca, and please.
Thank you very much. I want first of all to thank ANIMA for giving us this opportunity to present the situation here in India, and also how our embassy is supporting business also in this coronavirus period. We have never stopped our activity. We have been also involved in the work for organizing the repatriation of many Italian stranded here in India, more than 1,000 we have repatriated the last few weeks, but we have also worked daily to support our companies and our business here in India. And we have launched also a very innovative project together with the Indian authority at Invest India, that is the digital platform to promote matchmaking between Italian companies and associations and Indian association and companies and authorities. So today we can also have a discussion on how to work with ANIMA to take advantage of this platform and to organize for the coming months, because maybe in this coronavirus period it will be very difficult to organize travel from Italy to India or from India to Italy. We are working also with the Italian trade agency to promote virtual fair and exchanges between buyers and our companies in Italy, but also meeting between association, even B2B in the coming months between Italian companies and Indian companies. Today we had the working group meeting with Invest India, and we have defined a sort of a program of this digital platform, and I ask ANIMA to join this project because it will be very useful to go on in our activities here, in our contacts with the Indian counterparts. And I don't need to tell you how important is India for an association like ANIMA in the field of food processing, in the field of construction, technology, security and environment technology, logistics, are all sectors that are vital for the Indian economy, for the Indian industry. Our technology is known in India. We have to be able to spread the information about the quality and the innovation of our technology that is vital for the upgrading of many sectors here in India. We have started a process very important in the last few years in the food processing chain, with several visits and missions from Italy to India, and also some delegation from India to Italy, the participation of Indian buyers to international fairs in Italy, and so on. Now I can tell you that before the coronavirus, we already agreed with the Indian government to launch a multi-year partnership, economic partnership, because we want to increase a lot the bilateral trade and also our investment in India and the Indian investment in Italy. There's been a substantial progress in the bilateral relation, and now we converge with the Indian government also in the global agenda, because maybe you know that Italy will chair the next G20, January 2021, and India will chair the G20 in 2022. That means we have also to share, to discuss and coordinate the agenda of G20 that will become more and more important in a new global governance after coronavirus. So the bilateral relation will increase in the coming months and years. We have to take advantage of the digital modalities to have our relations with the Indian industry and the Indian authority. I have to tell you that Invest India was enthusiastic about this innovative project. We are the only embassy that are working with this modality here in India. And we have already organized several webinars, one organized also by Farnesina and the Italian Trade Agency with the participation of more than 450 companies from Italy, practically sort of mission, virtual mission from Italy to India. But this was only a preliminary step, because on that occasion we informed the companies in Italy about the opportunity in this market. India, according to the last International Monetary Fund estimation, is the economy with the highest growth rate in 2020, despite coronavirus. The estimation of International Monetary Fund is that India will grow this year at 1.9%. The estimation was delivered some weeks ago. Now we have to follow the evolution of the situation. Also in India, the spread of infection has increased in the last few weeks. We will see which will be the impact of the lockdown. Now India is in the third phase of the lockdown, and next Monday we start the fourth phase of the lockdown. Several productive chains have been interrupted in the last weeks, but now they are reopened more or less all the Indian manufacturing. Also our companies are reopening their activity, especially in Maharashtra, Karnataka, in the southern states. Some of the states, especially Maharashtra, more affected by the infection. So yeah, I consider this meeting today very important. We want to give and support you in all the follow-up we want to promote in the coming weeks and months. We are here in touch and in daily contact with the Invest in India, with the Business Association, CII and FICCI, with the Sectorial Association, and the digital modality give us also the opportunity to organize meeting on a very specific sector, even segment of each sector. Food processing is one of the first sector where we would like to organize with Invest in India a digital event in the coming weeks, maybe the month of June or early July. And I invite ANIMA to work with us for the success of this event, and also for the contact we can provide to the Italian companies which operate in this field. Construction, environment, logistics are all sectors included in the bilateral economic partnership. We identified four priority areas. One is green economy, renewable energy, smart grid. The other one is food processing, infrastructure with a special attention to railway sector, and also Make in India, that is all the area of machinery and the mechanics, where we export more products from Italy. Our market share is similar to the French market share here in India. All the European countries have a relatively low market share, but Europe is the first trade partner of India, more than the United States. So I think we have a potential. We have to exploit all the opportunities in the coming months and years, several opportunities. You know that India is going to at least this is the intention of the government, to become a global manufacturing platform, and also with the special attention from the United States to invest more in India than in China, because we know there is now tension between US and China. And already some very important US company like Facebook, Walmart, and also Amazon, and also Apple announced the transfer of some of the production from China to India. This means that in the coming months and years, the Indian government will be ready to reform all the sectors in order to be receptive of international investment. India consider Italy and Europe a very important partner for sustainable development, for innovation, for manufacturing. Italy and Germany are the two most important countries for the export of manufacturing from Europe to India. And in your sector, I see a lot of opportunities, as I told you before, especially in the food processing and also in the other area. So we are here with you. We will work with you in this time through conf call, webinar, whatever, to go on in the promotion of Italian industry, of the Made in Italy. And our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as you know, is going to launch a global campaign on the promotion of Made in Italy that will be focused also in India, as the steering committee last December considered India among the priority countries for the internationalization of our companies. I have to send a special thanks to ANIMA, his director, his management, because when I was in Rome, I remember we organized also the Farnesina at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs when I was Director General for promotion, economic promotion, cultural promotion of ANIMA. We hosted at the Farnesina some of the meetings, and I am so happy to work here in Delhi with you, with all the companies, with the association, and it's time that Italy comes back to all the international markets, and India is one of the most important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Ambassador, for your powerful and motivating speech. Now is the time of someone who all of you, I'm sure, know very well, Mr. Alessandro Durante, Director External and International Relations for ANIMA Confindustria Meccanica Varia.
Thank you, Stefano. Good morning, His Excellency. Can you hear me? Okay, very well. So, first of all, thank you to His Excellency, the Ambassador, to join our webinar, first of all, and for the friendship that always you have given and shared with ANIMA, as well as the Foreign Affairs Ministry, since when you were there promoting the Made in Italy, especially the technical industries that we represent. So it's with joy that we will be part of the digital platform that you just launched to support investment in India and to be part of the new Indian business platform, even if it's digital, but it's for sure the new way of making business. Digital is no more an option, that is one way. It's not the only one, of course. When this emergency will be passed, we will have physical as well as digital line of conductions for our business, and we are just making a trial. All the world is just having a worldwide trial of how the world is changing, and I believe that India is one of the most important points of changement, because its growth rate is not just this year that is very high compared to the others, the other countries, but it's several years. That is undoubtedly one of the most interesting. As ANIMA, we started in 2013, and 7 years ago, to have a direct contact with Indian business opportunities in order to make clear that the business must always create relationship. Business is relationship. Without one, there is no the other. And we strongly want to go on this path. In Italy, we have in 2013 and 2014 important meetings, business-to-business meetings with Indian partners, together with Ministry of Foreign Affairs and together with Indian Embassy in Rome, with a very, very fruitful cooperation. Especially since when with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Italy, we signed a memorandum of understanding in order to strengthen our strengthen and encourage our focus on international development. These years have been always more intense activity based, and so we want to go on in this way, especially because we need to promote once more and even better the made in Italy and the style of working and acting in business that we can bring to a market so important as India. Today we are here with a webinar, as we said, together with Stefano Boldorini and Mr. Mayan Kumar, who are representing the ANIMA desk in Italy. They are operative people that can be a further support for the companies beside the Italian Trade Agency, the embassy services, and in order to create a further and stronger link and support to our companies. We, as a federation, can act in order to make promotion and to put in contact potential business partner with our companies, as well as the political issues can be supported by the embassy, as well as the finding of the ideal and the fittings business-to-business companies can be made by Italian Trade Agency. After that, we believe that there is a need for a follow-up activity that constantly need support at local level. That's why we started with a desk dedicated to India. We have 3 desks like this one for Africa, one for Middle East, and one for India. But I would like to share with you that India was the first one, the very first one that we activated, especially because we are we want to have a long-term objective made by short-term programs and projects. So thank you again, His Excellency the Ambassador De Luca, for being today here. We join for sure any initiative that can make the Italian system stronger and more effective for our companies. Thank you for all the companies present today. Regarding the June and July next digital meetings, for sure we can assure our presence, contribution, and support. Thank you to all of you here present, and I'd say, Stefano, let's go on with the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro. It's quite impressive, the effort of your team and ANIMA to support cross-border operations, and congratulations once more. Now it's the time of Mr. Fabrizio Giustarini, Director of the Italian Trade Agency and based in Mumbai. Please, Fabrizio.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Boldorini, for the introduction. Thank you to ANIMA for having organized the event. And thank you to all the companies for attending the webinar. During my speech, I will give you a brief overview about mega food parks in India, because I think after my speech, Mr. Mayan Kumar will be more detailed about also the opportunities for Italian companies in mega food park. And also I will inform you about our office activities in food processing industry. What is a mega food park? A mega food park is an inclusive concept and the scheme of the Ministry of Food Processing of the Government of India, aimed at establishing a direct linkage from farm to processing and then to consumer markets through a network of collection and primary processing centers. So the main target of Indian government is to place production units near to the farmers in order to maximize value addition, minimize wastage. We all know that the wastage of food and of raw materials during the production process is one of the most important issue in India, and increase farmers' income and create employment. That's why since 2019, Ministry of Food Processing approved 37 projects. Honestly, at the very beginning, the projects were 42. Now the number is decreased to 37, out of which actually 4 are completed and 14 operational. 19 are under implemented. The mega food parks are located in 23 of 29 states and 7 unique territories of the country, covering almost the entire subcontinent. The scheme has created infrastructure at the farm level. This includes primary processing centers and cold chain facilities in identified clusters. Furthermore, it involves processing of intermediate products, collection centers, and centralized infrastructure to take care of processing activities. These activities require cutting-edge technology and testing facilities, besides the basic infrastructure for water supply, power, environment protection systems, and communication. The supply chain will establish a link between the farm primary processing centers at village level to the retail outlets processing parks through appropriate produce aggregation facilities and collection center cold chain and refer van transportation networks. So mega food park typically consists of supply chain infrastructure, including collection centers, primary processing centers, central processing centers, cold chain, and around 25-30 fully developed plots for entrepreneurs to set up food processing units. According to central government estimates, each unit expected to benefit 6,000 farmers, producers directly, and 25,000, 30,000 farmers indirectly. Estimated investments in each project will be around 100 crore rupees, which is about 12.5 million euros in each park. This investment will be in common facilities and will leverage an additional investment of around 250 crores, which is additional investments about 31 million euros. Each mega food park will generate about 40,000 direct and indirect jobs. 30 to 40 food processing industry are expected to be set up. It will boost, of course, the export, reduce unemployment, and enhance the value of Indian agro-products. Mega food parks are managed by private companies that, according to our experience, together with companies set up inside them, are the very key contacts for promoting our technology and solutions for a more efficient production processes. Talking about our activities, and as regards to Mega Food Park, I can tell you that we have been monitoring the development of each unit, getting in touch with management companies and directors of each completed and operational park. We also have been trying to get more details about companies based in each unit, Italian technology already placed there, if any, and future requirements and needs in terms of machineries. Of course, getting information is not easy, and also unfortunately the current situation has slowed down this activity, but I can announce today that anyway we merged all the data so far available in one single document, which includes a general report on Mega Food Park and most relevant facts for any completed and or operational park. This is just the first version of the document, which will be continuously updated, and we are very happy to share with ANIMA and with all the companies the document starting from the next coming days. Talking about the food processing industry, I would like to mention the following activities. The first one is the organization of roadshow in India with 5 legs in different states plus New Delhi. States have been identified according to number of food processing companies based there, at the end of which we are going to select about 20 projects of investments in new technology and machines. Indian companies with the best investment projects will be invited to Italy for site visit and of course for B2B meetings. This activity is already authorized, and I think it can be easily switched to a digital platform very soon. Of course, when the situation will allow us to travel and also to organize physical meetings, we can proceed with the second phase of the project, but I think we can start with the first phase in a digital presentation and digital B2B meetings with Italian companies and Indian counterparts. The second activity is the participation to Anutech Trade Exhibition in Mumbai, which has been postponed to the end of November from 26 to 28. The third one is participation to Propac India in New Delhi, still planned from October 8 to October 10. Of course, we have to see if also this exhibition, this trade fair will be postponed or not. I would like to remind you that for both those exhibitions, according to the extraordinary actions to fight the emergency, Italian Trade Agency will offer a free full equipped booth to Italian companies interested to attend the events. Now, let me end my speech with 3 tips of friend of mine, Ridish Jarnapurkar, who has worked with Indian and global companies, also Italian, in top sale positions since 1991 until July 2019. After 20 years of non-stop sales, he decided to establish his own consultation company and to give lectures to professional groups and business audience. The first one is people make investment, empathize and celebrate with them. The second one is it is impossible to win business just by exchanging Excel sheets. And the third one is never judge Indian customer by their personality and communication skills. Give them your shoulder to cry and help them overcome obstacles. Sales will follow. I really believe that those sentences are true even more during and after our time like we are facing now. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabrizio, for your quite wise and strong speech. And also thank you for being such a pivotal player in India through the Italian Trade Agency. Now, allow me to introduce Mr. Mayank Kumar, who is the Vice President and heading the merger and acquisition vertical for BSP Freedo, a company of ASC Group. So please, Mayank, go ahead. Every presentation that will be shared during this webinar will be sent to the participants afterwards. I disappear soon.
Thank you very much, Stefano. Thank you for this opportunity. His Excellency Ambassador Vincenzo De Luca, Mr. Alessandro Durante of ANIMA, Mr. Fabrizio Giusterini, Trade Commissioner of Italy in India, representing Italian Trade Agency, respected dignitaries, colleagues, and friends. These are trying times, as you know, for reasons known to all of us. But the India growth story remains intact. The Ambassador, Mr. De Luca, shares a similar view, as he had mentioned this in his introductory speech as well. Just yesterday, there was a very interesting event where the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Modi, addressed the nation at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time yesterday, and he announced fiscal packages to deal with the coronavirus pandemic, as well as he introduced new set of economic reforms that will be implemented from months in the coming months and this year, in order to strengthen domestic capability, streamline labor laws, regulations, and strengthen domestic institutions, so that India becomes more stronger and a better platform for foreign investors to invest, do business with India. These reforms are probably the largest reforms that will be implemented after the reforms of 1991, which opened India for business to the whole world. And the details of these reforms are yet to be furnished by the Ministry of Finance. We are looking forward to receiving it. I mean, one such interesting area where Italian companies and businesses can look at India for investment, as well as supplying their technology, machinery, equipment, is food processing and food parks. Now let us focus on the presentation, which is on the screen, which is being shared on the screen. For my ease, in order to go through the presentation, I will just switch off my video so I can run through the presentation very quickly. Now I had divided the presentation into.
Mayank, sorry to interrupt you. We don't see the presentation at the moment, at least myself. So I think you have to share the video from. I'm asking confirmation to our regista. The presentation is not displayed, right? You should share the screen, Mayank, as we tested.
Can you see it now, Stefano?
Now, yes. And You can probably go full screen, but it's already full screen. I think it's okay now.
Yeah, it's full screen. I'm sorry for this. I think, because waiting for the entire panel, I think there was some problem with the computer.
No issue, Mayank. As we say in Italy, il bello della diretta. I switch my microphone and let you go. Go ahead.
So, thank you. Thank you very much. So let us focus on the presentation. I had divided the presentation into a few key areas. Of course, first the introduction and the objective, why the mega food park scheme was set up and determined by the government of India. The project components that go into forming the mega food park scheme, pattern of assistance and grants that are being given by the government of India. By government of India, I mean primarily the Ministry of Food Processing, and how the entire mega food park scheme is being implemented, and what all approvals are required, and last but not the least, kind of business opportunities that are available for Italian companies with respect to the mega food park schemes. Now, Mr. Fabrizio Giusterini already hinted and gave a glimpse of some of the key areas. So I will just add and provide more details on what all he is not touched, just to complement his speech. Now, if you look at slide number 2, the genesis of the mega food park scheme is actually the 10th five-year plan. Initially, based on the Soviet model, India used to have 5-year plans. So the genesis of the mega food park scheme is actually in the 10th five-year plan, which was from 2002 to 2007. During that time, it was called Food Park Scheme, and now it was thereafter it was reformulated into the mega food park scheme. The mega food park scheme is under the purview of Ministry of Food Processing, as mentioned earlier. The guidelines for this are continuously changing and being evolved, taking into account the changing market dynamics. And initially 42 mega food parks were approved by the government, but only 37 have actually been approved for being set up in different parts and states of India. Now, what are the objectives? As mentioned by Mr. Giusterini, the objectives are to increase and improve technological capabilities in the area of food processing, provide better returns for farmers, provide high value commodities and products for customers, reduce wastage, build capacity, and create an efficient supply chain along with significant direct and indirect employment generation. Now, this is a comprehensive scheme. It has different facets, and if we move towards the component and the facets, which is mentioned on the next slide, it gives more details about the nature of components, the type of components that actually go into setting up the whole mega food park. So there are different components. The main ones are collection centers, primary processing centers, and central processing centers. What is the function of the primary processing center and the collection center? These basically have facilities for cleaning, grading, sorting, and packing, dry warehousing, specialized cold stores, including pre-cooling chambers, ripening chambers, reefer vans, mobile pre-coolers. So the initial grading, sorting actually takes place in the primary processing center. Thereafter, the food product in semi-processed form is transferred to the central processing center, in which the final product is developed. The central processing center includes common facilities like training laboratories, cleaning, grading, sorting, and packaging facilities, dry warehouses, specialized stores facilities, including controlled atmosphere chambers, pressure ventilators, variable humidity stores, pre-cooling chambers, ripening chambers, etc., etc. In order to set up a mega food park, of course, land is required. So the government, through its studies, has determined that in order to set up the central processing chamber, around 50 to 100 acres of land is required in different states. I mean, different states in India have different potential of farming. So depending on the area or the number of farmers and the type of products that one food park, a mega food park is catering to, land will be allocated on the basis of that. So in some states the land will be more, in some states the land will be less. So around 50 to 100 acres is required only for the central processing unit. It is expected that on an average each project will have around 25 to 30 processing units with a collective investment of around 30 million euros. That will eventually lead to an annual turnover of more or less 40 million euros from all the processing units in one mega food park. Now it is, as mentioned earlier, that one of the key aims of the government is to create employment opportunities and also sort of empower the farmers so that they have direct linkages from farms to the food processing units, because at the moment there's a lot of pilferage and a lot of waste which happens due to different reasons, such as lack of infrastructure, or the number of middlemen which are present between the farmers and the eventual processing units. So the farmer actually gets very less value for his or her products, agricultural products. So these are the main components. If we go to the next slide, we have an illustration of the entire mega food park. I mean, this makes it very clear. So let us focus on this illustration. So we have the farmer groups and the self-help groups. By self-help groups, we mean basically cooperative societies which the farmers supply to. So these cooperative societies and the farmers directly come to the mega food park and supply or sell their products to the collection centers. The collection centers thereafter forward the products, the food products, to the primary processing sectors, that is PPC up here. The function of the primary processing sector is written on the right hand side in the middle column, that it is pre-cooling, grading, pulping, sorting. So all the initial work actually takes place in the primary processing center. Thereafter, the primary processing center forwards the food products in semi-finished form to the central processing sector. In the central processing sector, the food products are transformed into the final product, and then from this it will either be exported outside India by exporters and imported by importers in respective different countries, whether it is in Europe or whether it is in Southeast Asia or whether it is in America or Africa. And thereafter the importers will place it and forward it to the retailers. Similarly, in India, fresh produce will be sent to wholesalers, and thereafter the wholesalers will forward that to the retailers, and it will be on the shelves for all of us to consume. So this is the brief synopsis and the concept of the mega food park model. It is very well illustrated in this diagram. Now, in order to implement such an ambitious scheme, the government provides certain assistance and grant. Now, what is this? What is the assistance exactly? I mean, let's have a brief understanding of the nature of assistance that the government is providing. The scheme shall provide a capital grant of at a rate of 50% of the eligible project cost in general areas and 75% of the eligible project costs in difficult hilly areas such as the Northeast and Sikkim, Jammu Kashmir. So wherever the areas which are less developed and less industrialized, the government is focusing more in more in terms of providing assistance in those areas than the areas which are traditionally industrialized and have such capabilities. Now, what is the eligible cost? Eligible cost is defined as the total project cost, but excluding cost of land, pre-operating expenses, and margin money for work capital. However, interest during construction as part of the pre-operating expense and fee to project management consultants up to 2% of the approved grants will be considered under the eligible cost. So excluding land, the land procurement of land is actually the responsibility of the company that has successfully applied and won the bid for setting up a food park. So the land cost there is no assistance for procuring land. Assistance, by assistance I mean financial assistance, but there is assistance by the government in terms of setting up rest of the capital expenditure in terms of machinery, civil construction work, warehouses. cooling facilities, electrical facilities, transformer electrical grids, which are associated with such large projects. So the government will provide up to 50% of the eligible cost in general areas and 75% of the cost in areas which are not that developed or industrialized in India. In addition to that, it is important to mention that the government of India, by that I mean Ministry of Food Processing, has identified project management agencies, project management consultants, which basically assist the Ministry of Food Processing in drawing up and formulating the policies, implementation of the program, drawing up, formulating the feasibility report, and assisting also the successful bidders to implement the food park scheme, because it is a very comprehensive and complex scheme that requires a lot of coordination in order to implement and get it running. So the release of grant, as far as grant is concerned, this is the manner in which the government is going to release grant. There are 4 stages. 30% of the grant is released under the scheme in the first stage, when the private company who has successfully won the bid for setting up the food park, mega food park, spends at least 10% of the eligible project cost on the project components. The project components were listed in the slides earlier to this, so you can refer to the slides earlier to understand what are exactly the project components. The second installment, representing 30% of the approved grants assistance, is released after proportionate expenditure by the SPV for term loan and equity equivalent to the grant amount released as first installment. So just to give you an understanding, what is the concept of SPV here? SPV basically stands for special purpose vehicle, which is basically a private limited company formed for a specific purpose. So any investor that wins the bid to set up a food park
Mayank, there is some issue with the line, so we cannot hear you anymore.
Yes, can you hear me now, Stefano?
Now,
hear me now, Stefano? Sorry.
Now yes, no problem.
Yeah, sorry. So any investor that actually sets up, that wins the bid to set up a food park, a mega food park, has to incorporate a special purpose company, which is basically a special purpose vehicle, referred to in India as a special purpose vehicle. It is basically a private limited company. So all the investment actually happens and is channelized through this special purpose vehicle into the food park. So the second installment, representing 30% of the approved grants, is released after proportionate expenditure by the SPV for term loan and equity equivalent to the grant amount released in the first installment. So the special purpose vehicle, what this point means is that once the special purpose vehicle invests at least 10% of the project cost through its own pockets or through taking the assistance of a lending institution, then 30% of the grant will be released again. Then the third stage, when the special purpose vehicle invests either through its own pocket or through a combination from the lending institution, another 30% of the operational cost, then 20% of the grant will be released by the government. So the government has sort of provided checklists up here, a checklist, and in order to understand and monitor that all the grants that are being released are actually being implemented and used in the mega food park. That is why such stringent steps are mentioned in order to release grants. I hope I'm clear. So let's move on. We have dealt with the objective, the project components, and the manner of assistance provided by the government and the grant to set up the to set up a mega food park. But let's see how actually it is implemented. So like I mentioned earlier, an investor who wins the bid for setting up a mega food park has to incorporate a special purpose vehicle, which is basically a company under the Companies Act of India. Now, this special purpose vehicle will monitor and control the mega food park. Now, the investor that wins the bid can also be referred to as an anchor investor. So the special purpose vehicle is actually being incorporated by the anchor investor. Now, in order to determine whether the anchor investor is really credible and serious, there are certain checks and criteria. So, he has to, the investor has to, provide its net worth, audited financials for the last few years in order to check his credit worthiness as well as seriousness and reputation before being awarded the bid. So, details of such requirements can be shared if required by any potential investor or interested company that may be looking at a food park in India. So the anchor investor in the SPV holds majority stake, so he controls the mega food park and is required to set up at least one processing unit. So the anchor investor has to have one processing unit in the park with an investment of at least 1.2 million euros. The anchor investor will have at least 51% stake in such processing unit. So this is basically to bind the anchor investor in delivering the commitments that he has, or that it has taken up in terms of setting up the mega food park. Setting up of alcohol beverage processing plants is not permitted. The mega food park also provides facilities for setting up ancillary industries such as packaging, because where such large volume of food processing is taking place, of course, packaging is a very, very important requirement in order to preserve and package the processed food so that it can be exported or sent to the retailers and wholesalers for domestic consumption. So once an investor wins the bid for setting up a mega food park, it cannot bid for another mega food park for at least 2 years. This is one of the key regulation which has been formulated and implemented. Now, what is meant by completing a mega food park? So this is a very important concept. Like Mr. Giustrini had also mentioned earlier, that only 3 mega food parks have actually been constructed and completed. So what is meant by that? This is very important for us to understand. Now, a mega food park is deemed to be completed when the central processing centers as well as the primary processing centers are operational, and 75% of all the total leasable areas have been allocated, and at least 25% of the 75% leasable area is at least operational. So when these criteria are met, then as per the existing regulations, a mega food park is deemed to be completed and operationalized. So that is why Mr. Giustrini mentioned that only 3 of them are completed, and some of them are in the early stages of completion, and some of them are actually still in the concept phase. I mean, land has been allocated and the framework has been developed for that, but they are still not works have not begun for the construction of such parks. So as mentioned earlier, the government has identified implementation agencies, program management agencies, program management consultants to assist the government and the companies that will eventually be a part of such mega food parks in implementing and executing all the civil works, in drafting the detailed project report, in procuring the statutory approvals, in assisting such investors in getting term loans from financial institutions, because this is like as mentioned earlier, this is a comprehensive scheme, so it requires coordination of multilateral agencies in order to make it successful. Approval process is a 3-stage process. So any investor that is interested has to submit an expression of interest that it wants to bid as being an anchor investor for the mega food park. For the mega food park, what will the expression of interest comprise of? It will comprise of the profiles of the owners, promoters, shareholders who will be the key shareholders in the SPV, so the special purpose vehicle which will own and manage the mega food park, audited balance sheet for the last 3 years, net worth, project financials and business plan. So this will comprise the expression of interest. The expression of interest will be submitted to the program management agency, which will evaluate the expression of interest on a scale of 100 points. They have their own points and grading scale. There is also a technical committee which evaluates the technical aspects of the expression of interest and the project report, based on a technical scale of 50 points. Once the project management agency as well as the technical committee approves, then final approval, the in principle approval is given to the investor, and thereafter it is sent for final approval, and the committee, interministerial committee, ratifies and studies and finally accords the final approval. Then the investor can incorporate a SPV and start the process of acquiring land to set up a mega food park. So in a nutshell, this is the approval process. So it's a lengthy process. It's a 3-step process, but this is how it is, and this is how it is being implemented. And so now let us move towards understanding the role of state governments. So by state government, I mean government of a province. I mean, state is basically like Lombardy, a province in Italy. So what is the role of a state government? Now in India, as per the Indian Constitution, land is actually a state subject. So you cannot take permission from the federal government, which is the federal government, in order to procure land until unless it is for defense purpose or strategic purpose. So for any industry to be set up, the state government has to provide approvals. So what is the role of the state government? The state government is basically to state government basically has to assist the SPV, the special purpose vehicle, the special purpose company, to procure and purchase suitable land, provide all requisite statutory clearances, including permissions for subleasing of land wherever needed, for setting up of mega food park and its components thereof, monitor the implementation of the project, provide flexible and conducive labor environment, and consider special facilities like exemption of stamp duty, VAT, sales tax exemption. So basically, the state government has to assist in setting up, assist the SPV in setting up and make the SPV's life easier to set up the mega food park and get it running. I mean, this is in a nutshell the responsibility of the state government. Let's move to the next slide. This slide basically aims to give the current state of the project so far. I mean, Mr. Giustini had already referred to this. As mentioned by him, initially 42 were approved, 42 mega food parks were approved, but actually only 37 are under different stages. The rest are, still the government has not still dealt with the rest of them. So out of the 37 mega food parks, 4 are operational and complete. So when we say operational and complete, that means in these 4 parks, the central processing unit, the primary processing unit are operational. The 75% of the leasable plots have been allocated. Out of those 75%, 25% are already operating. Operating and producing processed food. So in the rest of them, we can see that 14 are only operational. So this is yet to, I think, the leasable plots are yet to be allotted in such parks. 19 are under implementation, so they are still being constructed. I'm sorry. The total project cost for all the 37 projects so far is estimated as at euro 519 million. Amount of grant approved by the government is euro 205 million for all the mega food parks. The amount of grant that has been released by the government for these 37 mega food parks already stands at euro 160 million. So 160 million euros has already been released by the government. So this just goes to show how serious the government is to set up such food parks for the objectives that it has predetermined, as dealt with us earlier. Total leasable area that has gone for all, that has been utilized in all these 37 projects is around 1,233 acres. Leasable area still available. So area which has not been allocated so far or in these 37 projects are 577 acres approximately. Let us move to the next slide. This slide basically gives a glimpse of the nature and type of business opportunities that Italian companies can have. Now, Mr. Giustini mentioned that it is not an easy, there is no easy method and mechanism to understand, the kind of opportunities that are available. This requires an in-depth analysis and study, and also people on the ground who can approach and visit such food parks and talk with the appropriate people, the management, the people running in the managerial positions of the SPV. So the way to do it, the way to concretely understand the opportunities can be, analysis of the stage at which the mega food park is currently in terms of implementation, construction, and operation. Study of the type and nature of food processing products in each mega food park. This will determine the requirement of core and non-core machinery and infrastructure and business that arise from it. So not all the food parks will be processing or manufacturing the same food products. So different food products, may require different types of machinery, different types of cooling equipment, different types of transportation equipment, different types of other ancillary packaging equipments. So in order to understand the exact requirements, the nature of the food product which is being produced, that has to be understood and studied in each food park. Generally, the following business opportunities can be availed in terms of supplying machinery, because most of these food parks will require cold chain infrastructure, pre-cooling facilities, transit cold storage, refrigerated transport systems, likely reefer vans, machinery that are used for controlling and modifying temperature, quality control labs for obtaining appropriate food certification, supply of relevant machinery and equipment relating to such quality control labs. Designing of factories and processing units. So, designing of, civil works, this can also be an avenue to be explored. This can either, tenders and bids are usually floated for this purpose. An Italian company that wants to get into civil works construction can have a joint venture or form a consortium with an Indian company to develop such a food park. Designing a water supply system and supplying relevant machinery in relation to that. So these are some of the avenues of business opportunities that Italian companies can avail. In addition to that, not only just supplying machinery and equipment, but Italian companies can actually invest and set up food processing units either on its own or through a joint venture or a sort of mechanism of collaboration, a consortium with two or more companies, Indian companies, or two or more Italian companies get together with an Indian company to set up actually food processing units in such food parks. Now, the reason for this is that the Indian food processing sector is growing rapidly as the country is growing, having large disposable increased incomes. So definitely, as humans, the first thing which we look at is better nourishment, better nutrition, and people spend on better food and try to elevate the standard of living. So this is currently the stage at which India is. So this is directly impacting the food processing sector. So products such as pasta, juice, dairy products, value-added products, confectionery, savory snacks, tomato-based products provide the opportunity to cater to a large customer base within India. So Italian companies are actually setting up such food processing units and not only supplying equipments and machines in such units, can avail the benefits of these, these products. They can develop these products, and sell it either within India or export it to other countries in Southeast Asia or in Asia, Central Asia, etc., etc. Food processing industry accounts for 32% of the country's total food market and is ranked 5th in terms of production, consumption, export, and expected growth. Food processing sector has received around €7 billion of foreign direct investment from April 2000 to March 2018. So this just goes to show the seriousness and the interest of foreign investors in participating in the Indian food processing sector. If we move to the next slide, this just gives a glimpse of some of the key food processing items and where India actually ranks in all of them, and what are the opportunities which are available with respect to these food items. So milk products, by which I mean dairy products, India is the first in terms of consumption as well as production. And this sector is growing at 13% to 15% per annum. It offers ample opportunities for technology, innovation, and automation. In the dairy sector, one of the key challenges in India is collection, as well as reducing human contact while processing dairy products into, final products. So, there's a huge amount of scope for automation. In the recent past, about 5 to 7 years back, Lactalis has invested in a couple of projects in India, and even Italian companies are primarily exporting. I mean, I personally have seen on the shelves Granulo's products in India. Let's move to fruit and vegetable. India, the second largest producer of fruit and vegetables globally. It produces around 255 metric tons annually, and only 2% of the 255 metric tons is actually processed. So you can imagine the opportunity which lies up here, to process fruits and vegetables. I mean, the Italian companies that are manufacturing processed vegetable, tomato sauce, pasta sauce, they can actually set up manufacturing facilities up here in order to process and take advantage of the large unutilized processing capability for fruits and vegetables, and also take advantage of the cheap labor cost and make India production as the export hub of Southeast Asia, Asia or Europe. Cereal grains, India is the second largest rice producer and wheat producer. Largest exporter of food grains based products globally. Offers opportunity for milling technologies, upgradation and integration. Marine food products, as far as seafood is concerned, India is the second largest in terms of fish production globally, but processes only 20%. So India has only 20% processing capability as far as marine products are concerned. Offers opportunities for this particular area offers opportunities for cold chain, export packaging, producing value-added products, development and innovation. Egg and meat, India is the third largest egg producer, fifth largest meat producer globally. Opportunities for processing similar to the ones in marine product, cold storage, frozen meat and poultry products. So let's move to the next slide. So these are some of the Italian companies that are actually operating in the food processing sector in India, either by producing in India or by exporting their products to India. My take on the situation is most of the companies are exporting, but if they can consider manufacturing in India, this will save cost and make the products more affordable to the Indian public, thereby increasing customer base for such companies globally. Because India has a large population, 17% of the world population actually stays in India. So thank you very much. This was our attempt to give a glimpse of the Mega Food Park scheme and how business opportunities can be availed from such a unique and interesting scheme. We are available to, together with Stefano and ANIMA, we are available to provide responses and answers to any queries that you may have.
Thank you, Mayank. Thank you, Mayank. And I'm now asking if any of the participants has some question to raise. In this case, it should be placed on the right-hand side in the domande panel set. So, okay. If nobody has questions, I might raise just a it's not a question, it's just a brainstorming with Alessandro and Fabrizio. If what Mayank has been portraying, it's impressive in terms of potential opportunities for the Italian food sector and food processing. In your opinion, is there anything that we can add to the opportunities of the verticals of such companies, or because it's really unbelievable the amount of opportunities that this kind of scheme and the food processing overall can provide Italian companies with?
Yes, if I can add something. I think Mayank, I think he very well presented the opportunities in let's say in the food processing sectors, not only inside the food parks. And we have two different way of opportunities. The first one is just sell and provide the Indian companies of with our technologies and machines. The second one is investment opportunity, but for another kind of companies. I think for food products manufacturing companies, which I think those companies are not the ANIMA associated one. It's another kind of company. Regarding the machineries and the technology, again, I would like to also to work together with Mayank in identifying the real opportunities, the real project or investments that we have now in India. Of course, we have to see after the situation after COVID-19 if the investment plans will change. But I really would like to work together with Mayank as soon as this hard time will be over to identify the real project, investment project from the Indian side, and bring the opportunities to Italian companies, do the matchmaking with the Italian companies, and present the opportunities to Italian companies. This is really my target in this sector.
Very good point, Fabrizio. Thank you very much for this input. And is anybody willing to add anything to this?
Yes, Stefano, I would add one point regarding the opportunities that mega food parks can offer to Italian food processing machines producers that are to be considered. The first one is that the mega food parks are going to be a new channel of output for our producers. We are going to have 37 big clients that will need technologies to processing the food that the Indian farmers must transform in order to have a higher selling in food export. So it's there is a concrete direction that the India has set up in its political agenda. So this is the driver in which in the next 10 years probably India will set big efforts. So if we consider mega food parks interesting for food transforming companies, first of all, it has to be considered that for the people and for the companies that produce technology for the processing industry are crucial. First of all, to be there. If you are in a mega food park with a small factory or just a small office, you are in the middle of the potential growing business made of Indian companies that want to transform the farmer's crop into industrial food. And so you can have Indian clients. On the other side, you can have Italian or European or anyway foreigner companies that are going to invest there. Second, this mega food park scheme is I'd say it's unique for the mega food park, but it's common ground for 37 other mega food parks. This means that it is highly probable that the directors of these mega food parks will join in a sort of comprehensive roundtable, or anyway, due to the fact that the Ministry of Food Processing in India holds this project, there will be a common ground in order to share the best practice from one mega food park to another one. So establishing a small office or a small branch in one of these mega food parks, you enter in contact with an hub for potential clients and a hub that is a part of a bigger hub, 37 times bigger, of other potential clients. Last but not least, developing a branch in India will help you to be present in other countries near to India that, especially with this emergency, it's going to be essential to be in the country, because probably when emergency will, when we in the next few months, we will be able to travel within our country, and Indians will be able to travel within India or within the single states of India, but it will be anyway difficult to cross borders from Italy to India or from country to country. So to maintain our leadership or to set up a strong presence, we must think of having one foot in the country we are interested in. And India, from a political side, from an investment side, is showing us that food processing is crucial for them. Remember always that they have defined a ministry dedicated to food processing. It's not to underestimate this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro. Again, it's quite important what you are saying and quite up to date. And thank you very much. So is anybody willing to raise any question by placing into the right-hand side palette? Nobody seems to be raising it. Sorry?
Posso intervenire?
Sì, sì, assolutamente.
No, thank you so much. I think the proposal of Alessandro Durante of having a direct contact with the food park, especially for the companies, well explained the distinction by Fabrizio Giustarini. There are the food processing company and there are the machinery company. We are talking about the machinery company here. We are ready to support and to organize with you a digital meeting with the director of food park. Maybe not all 37. We can divide into webinar, into 1, 2, 3 webinar. We will see. We will discuss this also with Fabrizio, with the partner here in India, but giving them also a virtual experience of our machinery. The issue is here how Italy can contribute to a technological upgrade of the food park. This is the issue, I think, no? Because we, in some cases, we have machinery and technology not used in food park that can contribute to more effectiveness of the production, more advanced technology, and also more environment-friendly technology, I would say. So I think there is a big potential there to consider the food park as a sort of a procurement center of all the machinery here in India. 37, maybe it will be more or less, we will see. But this is an opportunity. We have to use all the modalities we can, and maybe now in this period is easier, because to organize visit on each food park from Italy to India is much more difficult. To have a digital meeting, at least not only the digital meeting, later we can also organize, when it's possible, some dedicated mission, when we see there is really an interest and a potential in some of the parks, to have this exchange with our companies. But we have to organize a sort of showcase of our technology related to all the aspects very well illustrated by Mayank in all the process of the food park. This is my proposal. We can support you in this initiative, of course, with ITA and Fabrizio Giustarini is our, of course, focal point. But this could be a useful occasion to increase the contacts and also the promotion of our technology in the food processing in India. A concrete proposal.
Thank you, Honorable Ambassador. It's very good, the idea of transforming this threat and this period into a very good opportunity potential. So let's go ahead at this point. If anybody is willing to add anything, or otherwise, I think we are finishing the webinar. No questions so far, and so far so good, as we will say. So we will be share the presentation of Mayank Kumar, and thank you everybody for your attendance, and thank you to the Honorable Ambassador, to Fabrizio, to Alessandro, to Mayank, and to all the audience to which we wish all the best and good business for the next future, also with India. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.